Hi, my name is Victor Jackson, and I'm the new CEO here at Columbia River Mental Health Services. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about who I am and why I took this job. I grew up on the East Coast and was like most little boys in that I enjoyed riding my bike, looking at cool cars, fishing with my dad, and spending summers with my grandparents. Now that I've painted a picture of my childhood, let me add some color to it. The 80s and 90s were a trying time, particularly in the urban areas of the East Coast, and my father was an addict. A raging alcoholic, and his drug choice was crack cocaine. He's also disabled from an accident and abused prescription meds to numb his existence long before the opioid crisis was a household term. This went on for decades. I can still recall my mother piling us kids in the back of the station wagon, searching for my father, sometimes night after night. This was before cell phones, if you can imagine. I now know we would circle the blocks where the crack houses were, and I've lost count of all the events that mattered as a child that he missed. But I did have a constant male figure in my life, my grandfather, a retired man who became a preacher but found a humble second career as a janitor at a university. A classy man of bygone days. I loved the summers at my grandparents'. Their home sat on the perimeter of an unfenced schoolyard with a basketball court, playground, and enough room to run for miles. While my grandparents didn't have a fence, there stood a large tree right at the edge of their property line. It was massive, a pillar of strength, much like my grandfather was to me. My cousins, siblings, and I would climb that tree, but I've always been a little afraid of heights, so never made it more than a few sturdy limbs up, but just enough to sit and look out in the field. My Uncle Manny, who would call me Minute Bowles, suffered greatly with addiction as well. Crack cocaine, I imagine. My grandparents would lock their door with a key to keep what little treasures they had from being stolen by him as his addiction grew worse and worse. One night, my uncle knocked on my grandfather's door, as he did many nights, maybe to ask for money or something else of value to score another high. This night was a little different. We all see things differently when looking back. While my uncle climbed that massive tree that night, I imagined the bark stood strong for him too. I imagined the limbs having some more weight as it was summer and full of leaves that provided a blanket to the heavens. That night, my uncle climbed that limb that I would make it to and hung himself, losing his battle to addiction. The preacher's son, 27 years old, I can still remember my mother coming into my brother and I's bedroom, nearly collapsing as she told us the news. I can't imagine the weight of the loss that she felt at that time, as her own husband, my father, was drinking like a fish, as they say, and disappearing for days at a time. Maybe she was overwhelmed, as this was a foreshadow of things to come that she couldn't bear. This year, January 5th, 2021, my father is clean and sober. This is my why. My goal and purpose is to restore families to wholeness. As we speak, someone's child is piled in the back of their family's car or walking the streets looking for their loved ones who are lost to mental health and addiction disorders. As we speak, someone is reaching for a bottle of pills, looking for a razor, or even possibly climbing a tree to end their pain. And as if that wasn't enough, COVID, with its isolation, severe mortality rate, has added to the mental health, public health crisis we see today. Since January alone, 2 months into the year, we've served over 5,100 individuals. It's going to take a village to save our community. Please join me in supporting Columbia River Mental Health Foundation's mission to widen accessibility of behavioral health treatment and to remove the negative stigma so we can continue important work in our community. Thank you.